The kidney grills are unmistakable. But no, it's not an M4. Funnily enough, this is the BMW M3 this time, and it's the M3 competition, which is the most important factor of all. We brought it out on a Motor Matters road trip just because we had to do that. So if you just pan the camera around quickly, you'll see we're right at the Vaal River, next to the river itself. Taken a lovely road trip, a nice cruise out, and stopped at this great scenery. But let's get back to the car now. Being an M3 competition, there are a lot of features you can look at. The very interesting treatment on the headlights, and of course the almost U-shaped daytime running lights underneath, the gills, the scoops, the everything else that you expect from an M3 that are so important. Just look at these wheels. Just look at this. 19-inch wheels, beautiful BMW, of course, wheels. But over here is something very special as well. These gold calipers, because not standard, an extra on this particular car, these are the carbon ceramic brakes. The stopping power is unbelievable. Of course, no fade, no issues like that when you want to take this around a track or anything of the sort. Cost you 140,000 Rand extra on the car. But when you're buying cars like this, who cares really? And just in case you need reminding that it is the M3 competition. Of course, the 6-cylinder engine puts out 375 kilowatts, 650 Newton meters of torque. Wow. You come round on the side over here, you can see the body kit. The skirts over here that make it hunker down low. This thing is just on the ground. It's glued. Interestingly, this is still the rear-wheel drive version, not the X-Drive that they have now started bringing into the country as well. But this is still the brute, can I call it, just the rear-wheel drive. It's a standard 3 Series body, of course, and that's part of the fun of it. But it's just not a 3 Series, is it? You can't call it that. Round the back as well, just the tiny little lip spoiler on the boot. It's very small, you can see, but it's there. How those 4 drain pipes at the back. You can't call those exhausts, I call them drain pipes. And of course the diffuser between. It's all about aerodynamics. It's all about performance, it's all about handling. Remember, you've got a carbon fiber roof on top as well. And lots of carbon fiber bits all over the place. We'll check it out, driving it on the road. Of course, we'll show you the inside just now, but it's not about that. It's about the fact of the suspension, the engine, the M treatment, but the proper, genuine, real M treatment that you get with this vehicle. That's what it's truly and really about. Well, in case you didn't realize, we're in sport mode, and you can hear the little shotgun gear shift, shall I call it, of the 8-speed gearbox, of course the M gearbox as well. So it, in this mode, just quickens everything up, sharpens it all up, and gives you that effect that is just so magical. I mean, I'm in 8th gear right now, I'm doing 100 kilometers an hour, and if I just nudge the accelerator, watch this. I think you may just get the impression. Literally pinning you back in your seat. Oh, wow. This is just so different. It's a 3 Series, yes, but an M3 competition in particular. It's got the red M buttons over there if you want to engage. It's got, of course, all the buttons over here for me. It's got that M shifter for the 8-speed automatic gearbox. This is a full-on, full-fat M car. That's the point. The ride may be a touch hard if you're really actually only wanting to cruise, but it's just so unbelievably capable. That's the words I want to use here. It just really, really can do it all. You can cruise in pretty comfortable circumstances, relative comfort and everything else, but it's just so mean, so ready, so willing, so let's go and overtake this guy very quickly just because we can. And that's how it works, and that's what the secret of this car is. And quite honestly, it doesn't even matter what the price is, because that kind of acceleration, that kind of performance potential is what this car is made for. Jumping in behind the wheel, well, it's a BMW 3 Series, isn't it? But of course, being an M model, there are slight differences, so let's not be that nasty to the car. But of course, you've got the normal instrumentation. This is just in standard comfort mode, I suppose you'd call it. But if I go down, we'll show you the buttons just now, but if I start playing with the modes, you'll see that automatically that's in sport mode, for example, and look how the instrumentation changes. And if I go up over here, I wonder if you'll see, aha, you can indeed see that the heads-up display changes to the rev counter, for example, whereas normally it would just show you speed, etc. So obviously that's the difference when you go into sport mode, and if you go into track mode, it'll change yet again and show you various other features and factors. But of course, in sport mode, it's where you want to see it and where it'll give you sort of the mean instructions and a more basic instrumentation in a lot of ways, but everything you want. Well, coming down to the steering wheel, again standard, but it's these red little buttons over here that make all the difference, because of course those are the M buttons. I don't have to say too much about them. M1, M2, mean 1, mean 2, you want to call it that. And of course, nice substantial pedals behind there as well, just to give you the full feeling and knowing that you're in an M car. You don't need any more reminding than that. Beautifully trimmed out, this one, you can see, with the cream on the doors, for example, things like that, and ambient lighting. It's got all those sort of features. As I said, it is very much a 3 Series BMW, but that's certainly not a complaint. We come over to a nice big center touchscreen, the 10-inch touchscreen over there, and of course it's got the scroller down here next to the gear shift. I think, again, you know this. I don't have to keep showing it to you because it is standard BMW. So let's jump right across to, of course, the gear lever. And this is, of course, the M gear shift, not the standard 8-speed gear shift that you have on other BMWs. And the unusual system of it's not just forward and backwards, but for example, you pull it down like that. Now I'm in neutral, and you flick it across there and up for reverse, which immediately, of course, gives you the camera with the overhead camera as well, which is a nice feature to have. And you can see park assist, things like that, that are available on this car, but quite honestly, it's not what this car is about. Or you just drop it back down into neutral and you just give it a push to the right for drive and features like that. Press there for park. Of course, staying down by the gear shift over here, you've got this carbon fiber effect all the way around the center console, which is important. But it's these buttons that run next to the gear lever. You can turn off the traction control if you're brave enough, cameras, turn off the stop start, which of course I recommend every time I drive a car. And there's where you can go into M mode setup, and that's where you can press and switch on the meaner sounding exhaust. I think you can get the impression. Listen to that. And that's, of course, in mean mode with the exhaust as well. It's all those kind of features that make this an M car as opposed to just a normal 3 Series BMW, shall I call it that. What this one has that's different to the M4 competition that I had recently has got to be the seats. Now you're dealing with beautifully trimmed seats, but without that excessively massive, shall I call it, side piece on the driver's seat and on the front seats that I found so difficult to get in and out of. You've got standard space in the back of a 3 Series, so this is now a different game all over again, because it's suddenly no longer just a normal M, it's a normal 3 Series in the back seat, I suppose you can say. And that's where it is a little bit different as well. You've got things like the inductive charging pad underneath over here in the front, a USB over there. You've got another USB inside the center console over here, the armrest. So you've got all these sort of features to make it into a luxury car. But of course, it's a luxury car with a bite. 375 kilowatts, 650 Newton meters of grunt, and boy oh boy. But the difference was, where I found the M4 to be manic, I found this to be a real executive express from the driver's seat. Of course, on the outside, you've got the contrast of that M4 was the blacked out, mean black one. This is this very fancy green. It's got a real long name. I can't remember right now, but it's got a really long name in it to tell you that it is an individual color, etc., etc. But it's all about everything on the car. The carbon fiber roof for lightness. It's got, of course, carbon fiber kind of trim over here. It's everything else that you would expect from a car of this type, and of course you'd expect for your money, because this car retails at approximately 1.9 million rand in standard form. Got about 200,000 rands worth of extras on this car, mainly made up by, I showed you on the outside, those carbon ceramic brake calipers, the carbon ceramic upgraded brakes. 140,000 rand extra for those. But boy oh boy, do they stop this car, and do they do a job of it. Well, I think the contrast of this car and the question that you have to ask with this car is, it can be a hooligan if you really want it. It's of course got the ability to be the hooligan, but it also can be an executive express. And that's again the contrast between the M3, M4, as far as I'm concerned. Just over 2 million, 2.1 million rand. Well, you know what, it competes with AMGs, etc. So is it really expensive? I don't know. If you're in this market, if you've got this money to spend, I suppose it isn't. And that's the point I want to make over here. But overall, if you're looking for a car of this type at this kind of money, well, you'd be looking at this, you'd be looking at AMGs, you'd probably be looking at RS Audis, and that's where it would probably end at this stage on the South African market. Really, if you're a BMW fan, you know what you're getting. Simple as that. For Motor Matters, I'm Alan R. I'll see you next time.